Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses as we kick off another week of action here, a three-day week, as Sunday is Easter Sunday. Paul Verderosa, Andy Serling, and we were just talking about how today we got a lot of rain, quite a few scratches in the card, but we were both just talking about how good Saturday's card is.
Yeah, Saturday looks good. Nice fields. Excelsior came up good, so we should have much better weather by the time we get to Saturday.
It'll be fine after this afternoon. Got a pick six carryover today as well, $35,000. It'll kick off in race number 3 of our 8-race card. We'll kind of get to work here. Start a few minutes late. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member, use the promo code BONUS200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. Let's see what else. We got track stats. Don't know. We got the pick six carryover, $35,828. And of course, that carryover helped by the they knew of all time. Though I guess maybe one person knew that crazy late money flash on the winner of the stake on Sunday. What else do we have, guys? Cross country pick 5. 2 at Aqueduct, 3 at Oaklawn. Got a team down at Oaklawn Park today as well. All through the weekend, it is, of course, their Arkansas Derby. And we're on from 3 to 6 on FS2. Greg and I will be upstairs at the desk, and a plethora of people spread out throughout the country. Rajiv is actually at Oaklawn.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's been to Oaklawn since he won the Apple Blossom with 7th Street. He probably gave a couple of bad rides there since then. I'll have to ask him. He's down there. We got a whole team down there. Obviously, Paul has been there the whole meet, but Lafitte and Maggie there as well. Race number 1, and this scratched. I know you were going to try to beat the number 3, Andy Canton. Yeah. I mean, there is the argument that I guess No Surrender could wire the field and beat him, and he is. We're going way, way back in the time machine to Oaklawn Park, actually, the last time he ran a particularly competitive race, and this was back in, this is actually Churchill, I think. Is this Churchill? It's Oaklawn. It's Oaklawn. Yeah. I'm sorry, March. It's 4 races back. I'm sorry. When he ran second. He has had a lot of chances. I don't think he ran that badly in his return race, considering that race came apart, and it was a much, much tougher field. I took him as a heavy favorite. I know you scratched into him. I'm not proud of picking the Andy Cants of the world, and I could understand wanting to use the 6 No Surrender to wire the field. But, man, this rest of this field is pretty hungry, especially after the scratches.
Yeah, for me, it was going to be lots of 7s and 3s. Now it's 3s and a little bit of 6s. I mean, this is finally the right drop in class for a horse like this, too. And like you said, last time out wasn't really that bad when you pick the race apart. If he can get back to that race that we saw, he's going to be awfully tough to beat.
Right, but he is an over 13 maiden, and he's got 4 seconds, and don't miss Mount Rushmore. We really got to find a way to get Mount Rushmore somehow into our broadcast, because for me, starting the day, seeing Mount Rushmore in the Gulfstream feed really gets me in the mood to bet. I've been to Mount Rushmore.
Have you? I was going to say the Mount Rushmore of Aqueduct is what we should have.
No,
like actual people.
And then they're down they're down in Washington D.C.
It's very patriotic.
It's all happening there.
Very patriotic.
All happening. Anyway, I mean, there's not much to say in this race. Going to be a heavy favorite. It's an easy horse to take a shot against, but not an easy field to get to. Clever, and No Surrender just seems like the only other horse at this point, and is going to be probably the Littleton Speed.
Yeah, and when you look at him too, I mean, he has issues changing leads at times, and he's lost to horses now that are like 0 for 12.
He ain't much horse.
Yeah, he's not much in here, but if you think he's going to wire the field, I mean,
that's how he can win.
The only other possible speed you could think of is if the 1 decides to go. He's not that fast from the inside.
Not as fast as the 6, and you'd have to think that Manny would want to be aggressive with the 6 here, because it's not a race where you'd want to be raiding along on the front end. You want to win it. You want to sort of take advantage. Race number 2, I was actually going to play against Value Area. I was very interested in Status Seeker coming back off the layoff, but not going to play in here off the layoff, and we'll take a look at Value Area 2 back winning, and at the end of the day, probably stalk Patricia Ann. Patricia Ann did run okay last time and a big improvement, and she's the other horse here, but now we're stuck with a 4-horse field and a 1-2 shot.
Yeah, and deservedly so, she's going to be the favorite in here, too. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you look at this race, I mean, obviously she got the job done at the end of the day, and I mean, in her last start, I don't think there was anything wrong with her Ruthless. I mean, those are 2 good fillies that she ran behind, and she didn't really disappoint. She ran well. She was respectable in there. So with what's left in this field, and she's going to be a little bit more forward, I think, just off of Patricia Ann, I just feel like, what are you going to do here?
No, I agree. I was going to try to take Status Seeker, who, the kind of horse that people see that low buyer figure and maybe, could improve a lot off a long layoff. A bit of a, taking a little bit, not a stab, but a little bit of a chance. But when you start looking at what's sort of left here, if Value Area loses, I'm going to lose at this point, and she's going to be an overwhelming
it's
favorite.
hard to, and it's hard to make a case for low society because even that start 2 back, I mean, she was aided by being inside and on that rail that day too. So it's kind of hard to make a case because that race was an outlier compared to.
I don't know if she wins if she runs that race anyway, and I don't see how she's getting the lead from Patricia Ann. And one of the reasons I think really seen a resurgence of Jose Gomez this winter. I think we're getting back to seeing the Jose Gomez that we knew as an apprentice, and he's just been so much more aggressive, and so many good things have happened since being aggressive. And you do feel a little bit like Angel, his agent, Angel Cordero, is in his ear because Angel, not only one of the greatest riders of all time, but a super aggressive rider.
Yeah.
I mean, Angel's a little before your time for most of his riding, right?
Yeah, no, most of his riding, yes. I was here. I started coming around when he had that final little go around, and then he was also training as well. That was the mid-90s?
Yeah, I mean, to have seen the Cordero in the 70s into 80s when I was a kid going to Saratoga, he was.
Yeah, there's no
unless you were
there.
Saratoga wasn't. It was popular, but not the way it is now. He was the king in every way. I mean, he just ruled, and that was a great colony, and he was the man.
And it's amazing. You know, I saw him at Belmont for one of the events that was there. We were talking and talking about just how different things were and how amped up he was for Saratoga. How he'd ride hurt. How he would just show up every day with
he
that.
Took no prisoners.
Yeah, no
he took
prisoners.
No prisoners.
Yeah, didn't matter who you were. He just wanted to get the job done and win.
He is a living legend in horse racing. There's no doubt about it. Race number 3, the wet track, is a real factor in here because both will take a look at Starry Midnight going back to January 1st, beating her uncoupled stablemate, the number 6, I Feel the Need, and both these horses are suspect on a wet track. And they're both taking precipitous drops, but I'll tell you something with Starry Midnight. I think for me, it's up to Jose Lezcano to be aggressive coming out of the gate in this race because last time out, she didn't run as badly, and maybe she just doesn't want to get dirt kicked in her face. And if he can be aggressive and sort of get her out in the middle of the track, enough away from Perpetual Praise, who I imagine will be the speed in here, I thought she'd probably win. But I have to admit, with the weather here, I'm scared that Perpetual Praise may wire the field.
These were one of these races that came up where I just have absolutely zero trust in any horse in this field for various reasons. And for me, Starry Midnight, I just think is better on a fast track. But you're probably right that this horse does not like the kickback. And maybe Jose can keep this horse away from that and be forwardly placed in here. With I Feel the Needs case, I mean, this is a much lower level, but the form has just gone really off here. And I know I put the horse second in here. Lack of speed in the race kind of hurts this horse too. I just didn't trust anybody in here. I do have them in the mix. I would use every bit of every horse I have on the board here in multis, but I just ended up on a horse that I thought was going to be a little bit of a price, and I wanted to give a shot going the mile for the second time in Maggie.
Why is she going to be competitive here?
I think the only time that this horse ran the mile, ran against Vintage. Vintage isn't that bad of a horse. Vintage is 4 for 13. And Vintage wired the field that day on a day at Saratoga where you wanted to be on the rail or inside. So Maggie had to go about 5 wide that day. And in a race where Perpetual Praise may not want the mile, Starry Midnight's best races have been on a fast track for the most part. Starry Midnight, excuse me. So I feel the Needs form is going backwards a little bit. I'll take a shot in here with a horse like this from an outside post that may just be able to be a little bit closer and not so far out of it. And got the right jockey on her back. Maddie Oliver's been riding great too these days on horses with prices and grinding things out. So in a race where I don't trust anybody, I'm going to go with a price in here.
Okay. She is dropping down. We'll see. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of hers, but I would use the 2, 3, and 6 near. I just have a tough time seeing both the Linda's horses not firing this race. And I know their form's a little dubious, but she has a tendency to win these kind of races on drop downs. In race number 4, I see that we both took the horse Lucky and Gorgeous, who I think our friend Pat Reynolds was just a little bit overambitious with her last time running her against maiden specials. If she runs back to her debut, I just thought she was the worst to beat in here.
Yeah, and the plan, by the way, the plan all along with this horse, it's funny, not too long ago I had spoke to Skylar Spanabel, who rode this horse in the debut. They wanted to run this horse long second time out after that first race, and then the horse ended up here.
Trainers always want to run horses long.
And then, but I think this horse will run okay at the mile drops in here. For what it's worth, I know it's not a big stat. Looked at Pat Reynolds is 2 for 3 with horses that are coming off a 61 to 180 day layoff here at NYRA on dirt. Now, all 3 of those horses were back in 2021, so I mean it's been a couple of years. But this horse,
she's been entered a couple of times.
She got scratched. I picked her last time when she got scratched. But in this race, I just think this horse stretching out a little bit, has a nice post on the outside. Should get a decent trip in here.
I just thought she was a very logical
Yeah.
horse. I don't know that we're going to. I mean, to be honest with you, I think she's supposed to be favored in here. Her first race, she's just in an unrealistic spot a little bit last time out. And her first race is supposed to beat these horses. You know, a horse like Sindara, who David has favored in here, and I picked third, the number 9, you have her fourth. I know she took all that money first time out. She took the money because of her pedigree.
Yeah.
She stinks. I mean, is she going to run better here? Probably, but she ain't much horse.
No, she didn't run all that well in her debut, and it was basically, like you said, it was for a pedigree thing. I mean,
She entered for a tag, I think, already and scratched. I think she was entered for a quarter or something. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that I don't know. But I don't know. Blinkers off, first time Linda. This horse is going to take money,
It's
obviously.
such a weird pedigree. A See the Stars Dam and Gun Runner. It's just strange. And, you know, the other thing is, See the Stars Dam and even Gun Runner, turf racing's coming up, and believe it or not, just 3 weeks from now. And you'd wonder a little bit if Linda might want to hang around and try a turf race and start on the turf. You just wonder if she thinks, fine, try this in the turf, but if somebody wants to pay 40 for this horse, she's all theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, she does have some pedigree, so if she could run a little bit, with that pedigree, she'd have a little value as a broodmare, but Linda knows that. I actually think the other Linda horse is a little interesting in here, Grab the Glory, because she only has the 2 dirt races. And, you know, last time out, I mean, she's running at Saratoga in August. I just kind of want to give her a chance. I'm not sure. I think the horses out of that last race might be a little bit better than it looks. So she got involved in the pace that day. You know, as a 2-year-old going a mile. She's kind of an interesting new player in here, I thought.
Yeah, and she's absolutely faced better on dirt in her 2 starts than she's going to face here today. Ultimately, I just wonder if she's going to wind up back on turf, but she could very well win this race on the dirt
I don't think
today.
she's a turf horse. I think she's a dirt horse, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, like I said, for me, the 7 3s and 4s, you know, were the...
What's the story with the 3?
I think this is a good spot for this horse. Now dropping in class, coming back against Statebreds for the first time. This horse ran just evenly to the wire.
This horse was in not just a pathetically bad. I mean, I have the horse fourth because I respect the connections, but there's nowhere else to go in here. But this horse is in a terrible, terrible, terrible race first time out.
In some respects, yes, but all the horses came back to run a little bit better Beyer-wise second time out. I mean, they weren't humongous jumps, but they did run a little bit better, and Dakota Springs came back to run second. Again, it's a minimal jump, but I figured first time against Statebreds, dropping in class today. The connections have done well here at times with horses like this. So I'm just going to give this horse a shot.
Okay. See what happens. Race 4, second leg of the pick 6. Kicks off the late pick 5. We'll be back with the late pick 4 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses, and thanks to our good friends at Saratoga Springwater for their support on Talking Horses. Race number 5 really changed with the scratches because Fancy Azteca coming out is going to allow the number 3, Bonadju, to in all likelihood be loose in this race, and I got to admit, that's going to make her pretty tough. I wanted to play against her, and I kind of like the horse with some that needs some pace up front. I'm not going to change my pick off a horse at decent price. But given the scratch, it's just going to make it so much easier for this horse, Paul.
Yeah, I wanted to play against this horse too. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I had this horse in the top 4 before scratches, and then after the scratch, I ended up putting this horse second because, like you, I just agreed. I thought Fancy Azteca was going to keep this horse company and make this horse actually have to work. I mean, you can't argue that this horse has run well. It's basically the same races, and the horse has been able to control paces. I guess now this horse is going to be in front comfortably, unless Ocean Getaway kind of stays with her a little bit. I mean, it just makes her tougher in here now.
See, you and I saw this race very differently because I think the absolute horse, and we'll tell the replay of Ocean Getaway's last race, the horse to play against in here is Ocean Getaway, not Bonadju. I think Bonadju has been running better races. I just think Ocean Getaway has been beating up on pathetic fields in her races, relatively speaking. This is a massive move up in class for Ocean Gateway. I thought she was the one you wanted to play against in here, especially with the open length wins, the Clement barn. She's going to take a lot of money, and I thought she was extremely vulnerable here. You obviously disagree.
I just think with an outside post today, I agree with you. It's tougher in here. I mean, the fields have been getting a little bit tougher from her. 2-back was definitely a weak field. Last time out wasn't the greatest field, but it was better than the 1-2-back. Today's definitely harder. I think she's got an outside post, and she sits off of a horse like Bonadou. So maybe she gets first run at that horse, and,
I mean, I thought Whistler's style could be as fast, if not faster. I don't believe she's been involved in fast paces at all. I don't think she's particularly quick early. We'll see what Dylan does. Dylan's not riding here Saturday. Is he suspended? Where is he riding?
I know a couple of riders did have one-day suspensions coming. I thought I read, but I don't know if that's.
I thought I noticed he wasn't riding.
Yeah,
I couldn't figure out where he was riding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's in Dubai. Oh, right.
Yes.
He's going to lose on somebody over there, right? Who's he going to?
That's right.
Oh, he's riding Panigate? Panigate actually,
yeah.
Panigate get a piece in that race. I've been kind of making fun of him, but he could get a piece.
Yeah.
I don't think can't be forever young, I don't think, but he could get a piece in there. Okay, well, good luck in Dubai, Dylan. I hope you come back safely. I could never make that trip. I don't think I could last that long in a plane.
Really?
You
would want to see it, like to just to be there?
No,
to see the tracks?
no. In fact, I hope to never see it.
Really?
Yeah, it's my goal in life is to never see.
Because I know you've done like Europe and everything else, so it's not really that much long. It's another hour or so.
Yeah, there's a big difference between going to Europe and
going to
Dubai
yeah.
in a lot of ways. But no, I have no intention of ever going there.
Really?
Somebody would have to. No, I have no interest. I don't. We'll have to agree to disagree. I don't like this horse.
Yeah.
If she wins, I will lose. I think Kid's Last Laugh is dangerous in here. I mean, she's been running against some good horses. I actually thought her last race was pretty good. So I think the winner, Amoretti, is pretty good, and she was able to control on the front end as well.
Yeah, and when you look at a horse like her, too, the only time that she ever went the mile, she was on top of a pace that a long shot wired the field that day. This race certainly puts her in the mix here, as long as she can get the mile in here. I mean, when you look at her, you say to yourself, there's not much to say that she wants the mile. When you look at her siblings, they all basically kind of went shorter. But I think with her running style and the form she's in, she's dangerous in a race like this.
I agree, and I don't know if Rick scratched the one because of the wet track or what the story is, but I mean, it's almost like a confidence move. I think she's dangerous in here. Listen, Toned Up is going to have this race come apart. There's no question about it. And that's not going to be as easy with the scratches. But she has run against consistently just better horses. And she's got races that are better than these horses if she gets it done. And she's going to be a square enough price in here. She never really takes that much money. And maybe for good reason, because of her lack of pace. And that's why she's got 15 seconds and thirds and 41 starts and just 4 wins. But her price is going to be right, and she's good enough to win. I don't love her with the scratches. But I do not like Ocean Gateway. If you're right, I'm going to be wrong in here. And I do think Bonadou's the horse to beat, but I don't mind taking a little shot with Toned Up.
Yeah, I just got a little scared off with the lack of pace, but
it's fine.
You could use her.
We're allowed to disagree in races. Race number 6. I was going to start out race number 6, but taking a look at Vaunted. Who's the second choice on the morning line? And ran well last time, but I got to tell you something. I just don't like horses that have races wrapped up and lose, especially in their 9th start.
Yeah, when you look at this race, too, you were like, she's good to go. She's got the job done, and then she got collared.
Well, his horse came back on her.
At her from the inside.
And Grant, again, hasn't exactly run particularly well in subsequent starts, so it doesn't flatter the race. Having said that, Jimmy Ryerson's barn's been going well. I really, you felt bad for Jimmy because obviously he wasn't able to run his horses when we had the herpes outbreak because where his barn was. But he come back on fire, so he's more than made up for it. So that's good to see.
Yeah, he's come back on fire because I've stopped picking him. So I actually.
That's the reason?
Yeah, I was.
Nice of you.
Yeah, it really was during the winter time when he was ice cold. I feel terrible.
What's the Kuroki story?
Kuroki's story is cutting back to a better distance today. The only thing that does worry me is the off track. He didn't.
You think the distance would beat her last time?
I don't think the horse wanted any part of going a mile.
But he was never contentious in the race.
No, he had some issues too in the race, kind of jumping some tracks. But two starts back
the weak excuse. He broke slow.
And 2 starts back though, that race kind of puts this horse in the mix at a price.
I agree.
The debut worries me a little bit, but he did get away a little slow in that race that day too, and kind of just toward the track. So maybe he'll run better on a wet track today. I think there's a little bit of pace in here that'll help him out. And really, I was hoping more of a fast track for this horse than a sloppy track, but I think the distance will help this horse more as long as he gets out of the gate. So at a price, I was going to take a shot just because I didn't want to take Vaunted at what was going to be a shorter price in here. And Hey Toby as well, I just kind of at a short price.
I think Haytobi's going to be very tough to beat,
Yeah.
but that's fine. We'll get to that in a second. I know that Kuroki ran well enough two back. I don't know what to do with that race. And it's not like horses have run that well out of it. I know they were against the track kind of, but that race fell apart. It's a very strange race. I'm not sure what to do with it. I mean, obviously, you're right, though. On the figure, he runs it, he can win. As far as Haytobi looking at his first start, I thought Haytobi ran extremely well in this race. And I know the figure was a little light, but that was a while ago. He could show some improvement since then. And this was a race that just completely fell apart. And horses coming out of that race ran significantly better figs. Sinumbre came out of that race to run 20 points higher. The fifth horse came back and ran 23 points higher. He was with the pace, which fell apart. And I feel like he's just kind of the right horse in here, Haytobi, against a lot of horses I'm just not particularly fond of. And with the mighty Don scratched, he could be the clear speed in this race outside of Vaunted. I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat
especially with Kendrick up. He's been working well for the return. He should show speed. He's in for the waiver today, too, which is a positive sign, I think, that they're not offering him up off the layoff. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, 5s and 7s for me and a little bit of the 1A, but
I'm going to throw the 1A in as well, who has been way over his head in all of his races and puts it into a realistic spot. I'm going to use him. I'm going to use him as well. He's my backup horse. I always want to use these Engelhard horses, and maybe this horse just stinks, but they ran a New York bred down in Florida, and they shipped up here for New York breds, where he should have been all along, and he caught a killer field last time.
yeah, it was tougher, a lot tougher.
So race number 7, I apparently am the only public handicapper in America that seems to think that Spiteful Lily is going to win this race. And I do think she's going to win this race. You know, I don't know if any of you saw it, but I thought she was pretty impressive this day and thought her 95 buyer was pretty good.
No, listen, she traveled like a winner always in this race and did it professionally. It was a super easy win. Got a little high-headed there in the lane, but otherwise looked very good doing it. The horse is bred to go long. Miles shouldn't be a problem. I mean, the only little questions that I have with this horse is, I mean, she's way good enough to win. She could probably regress and win this race a little bit. She's given up some experience.
Probably.
Yeah, but you know what bothers me more? Jimmy Bond just doesn't have good numbers coming off these kind of layoffs. I mean, the one I had was 0 for 12, 2 in the money.
It's been off 2 months.
No, I know, but still, even sprint to route and...
What are these kind of layoffs?
I don't know. I just...
What are his numbers 30 to 90 days off a win?
I have just a horse coming back off the layoff, not off the win.
What's the layoff that you looked at? Out of curiosity, these kind of layoff.
I have...
Which is the layoff? Because if you're using 61 to 180 days in the over 36, the horse has been off 61 days.
Yeah, so it's...
I mean, give me a break.
So it's even simple. That's what I have. I'm using 61. But even before that, the numbers, what are the numbers for 30?
I don't care.
So
how many horses in that sample looked like this horse?
Even still, though, I'm not going to... This horse is going to be 3 to 5 in here, and I'd rather
As she should be.
That's fine, but I'm just going to take a little swing off that layoff with another horse. That's all.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to use this horse in multis or pick sixes if I play pick sixes. I'm not going to leave this horse out. I'm not that crazy. But you might say I am, but I'm not that crazy. But I'm not going to, you know.
Okay, so woo us with why you like Sail with the Wind.
So for me, I know on its face, Sail with the Wind, you may look at the horse and say, the horse is run a little bit better on turf, but she's got some respectable dirt figures and races. No, she ran that start when she ran the 67, and the one when she ran the 75.
The 67 is going to give her no chance whatsoever.
But she also may improve second time off the layoff. She was wide against a good rail on October 19th. She came back to run solid the next start after that on the grass. It's not like her form just eviscerated and went away. I mean, you probably wanted to be
I don't think your form eviscerates. Don't you eviscerate?
Disappear?
Dissipated?
Dissipated?
I don't know.
So last time she was inside when you probably wanted to be outside that day. Kendrick stays. Maybe she shows a little bit more speed.
She was outside rallying.
But she was inside most of the race.
Okay, there's an elephant in the room. She has a trainer change. Is the trainer change part of your play here, or has it been play anything into this at all?
Listen, it figures into it as well. And Kendrick stays. She's capable of better. She's got an outside post today. So
I've got her third. I mean, if the 7 fails to get out of the gate and runs a couple cartwheels, she has a chance to beat him. But so it's not it isn't the trainer changer. It is.
It's partially it's that, and then some of the other things that I mentioned too. I mean, she's running.
Well, you tried to make an excuse for her last race based on the track, which wasn't true because she angled the outside.
But she was inside for part of that race when it had more of an
It's also a race
outflow.
that completely and totally collapsed. and she was closing into a collapsing race. All right, listen, I've got her third. I know she finished ahead of Saratoga Kisses, so maybe she's better, but I thought Saratoga Kisses was the other horse in here. I don't really think there is another horse. I think Spiteful Lily's going to absolutely crush this field. I'm not betting against horses that run races like that first time out. As you say, she looked like a winner every step of the way, and she just destroyed that field. I mean, destroyed them.
Listen, and Sarah. Well, I agree with you there, but I'm going to take a shot at a horse who's going to be 3-5. That's all. First off that little break, she may win, and then she's good. Listen, I'm using
betting against horses just because it's going to be 3-5 is ridiculous. You may not like her. What price do you think she should be in here? Do you think she should be 3-5, or do you think she should be 6-5? Because you're betting against her because she's 3-5. You obviously think she should be a higher price.
I would say 4-5. Even money in here, but if she's going to be 3-5,
do you think she's only about a coin flip to win this race?
I don't. With those stats that come up, listen, I could be very wrong.
The stats
would be the first time.
The stats. There's a stat in the paper that is 61 to 180 days and over 36.
But that's
how many of them were dirt races?
You need to break it down.
How many of them were coming off wins? What were their prices? She's coming off a 61-day layoff. So to use a stat where,
I also went sprint to route.
To use a stat where it's 61 to 180. Is absurd. Patently absurd.
But I also said that I broke it down for horses that were going from sprints to routes.
What is the stat exactly you have?
0 for 12, 2 in the money, with horses coming off 61 to 180-day layoffs on the dirt, sprint to route.
Okay. But how many of those horses were coming off less than an 80-day layoff, do you think?
Probably half of them.
Okay, I'll take the under.
Probably half.
I want an under. I'll take 5 or less.
I'll look it up
for $10 right now.
Okay.
5 or less for $10. What was it again?
0 for 12.
Stretching out.
Going from sprint to route.
Stretching out on the dirt.
Yes.
61 to 180 days. Okay, so I'm going to say less than 5 of them were 80 days or less than the layoff.
5. You said
5. I said less than half.
Okay.
So 6 is a tie.
6 is a tie.
No, I'll give you 6. You get the $10 if it's 6.
6 All right, we'll do it when we go downstairs.
Steve, look it up and let me know so I can get that 10 from before the show is over.
So I'll lay it out. Yeah. Come on.
Better with the stats. She might lose. I'm arguing the merits of 3
Watch, we're arguing somebody who's 40 to 1 is going to win, like JSK's lucky.
No, Spiteful Lady is going to win. Race number 8 was absolutely and totally just completely destroyed by scratches.
Yeah.
If you were all afraid of running against Capone, guess what? He's not running either. Who you got left here?
I ended up on Winning Drive. Although actually, it should have been. All right, it's okay. I'll stick with what I have. But I have Winning Drive on top in here. I just thought Winning Drive showed a little more speed last time, even though the horse still finished 4th against better horses. And I just think Jackie's just got to go in here. If she can make the lead in here, hopefully with this horse she can. This horse has run okay races, enough to compete with what's left in here from an inside post.
Seems like everybody likes to pick this horse but me. It's been a while.
It's just
Has
hard.
not won a race since March 11th of 2022.
I mean, this field's kind of hungry.
He could certainly win in here. I prefer Prince James, getting some class relief, a little layoff for Ray Handel, hoping he comes back. Thought both he and Quick Flash should be stalking the 2 Winning Drive in here. And Dates of Freedom is a little dangerous, turning back for Eddie DeLauro as well. And Eddie's 5 for 36, 14%. A big ROI because there's a $60 horse in there. But even if you take that horse out, the ROI is still going to be like a little under $2. Yeah. So, I like the cutback. And I still think there's a little bit of pace in here. But obviously, I mean, you could argue it's a more competitive race without them in here, but it's also a much smaller field.
Yeah.
I just cannot wait to get the answer on that.
Yeah, we're going to have to tweet that out when that happens. I'll go downstairs and do it now. I'll put it through I'll show you exactly what I did.
If anybody else wants to get in on it, Paul might be willing to bet more than $10. So maybe if you catch him on the way out of the studio, you could beat him for a few thousand.
I did take the pick 6 to cover some of that.
I like a story the other day talking about. I'm not going to tell the person involved, but he's a really good guy actually, and an older time jockey.
Okay.
I was at Gulfstream. I think it was '96.
Yeah.
And there was an inquiry going on, and we used to watch. People know the real Gulfstream, the good track. You go up the escalator, the second floor of the clubhouse, and there's those TVs there to watch.
Bank.
And there was an inquiry going on. I was with Andy Beyer, and it was a preposterous foul claim. And I sort of announced, well, this can't come down. And this sort of well-known racing person turned to me and said, oh, this was a cinch to come down. I said, really? Can we bet? He said, I'll bet you 200. I think they took the horse. They took the inquiry down. The horse didn't come down.
Okay.
It was a preposterous claim. In literally a second after we bet, he paid me though.
There you go.
Those were the good old days, which some of you remember when you used to be able to find the action in betting inquiries, betting photos around the racetrack. This is good old days. Anyway, tough to find enough people to bet inquiries and photos these days. I think we should have pari-mutuel wagering on it. Anyhow, head over to Naira Bets. Thank you, Paul, by the way. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
Always.
Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member, use the promo code BONUS200. We'll match for $200 of your initial deposit. Carry over in the pick six. $35,826 starts in race number 3. If you're Paul, you're trying to beat. Oh, wait. Oh, Eric's checking it. He did not look the stat up.
Oh, okay.
What else?
Cross country pick 5. 2 from Aqueduct, 3 from Oaklawn.
There we go. Thank you. You did a great job with that. And the show is on, covering those races from 3 to 6 on FS2. Oaklawn and Aqueduct. Thanks again, Paul. Thank you for watching. Chris Griffin up next, a reprise, Scratch and Changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.